hang out for a second. You guys, this video is brought to you by the amazing Get the Tea. Life Change Tea is an all-natural, tasty tea with organic ingredients, non-GMO, no caffeine. Gets things moving, helps with some weight loss, helps with some digestion issues. You guys can feel like a new you and drop a few pounds. Head on over to getthetea.com, pick up some tea. Make sure you tell them that Tracy Beans sent you right over. Awesome of them to support me, so thank you guys. Hey everyone. It's good to be here. I'm so excited that I have power and everything is good here. Really excited about that. I have a lot of things that I'm going to talk to you about today, but I wanted to start off with something lighthearted. I'm good. I'm very, very good. I really am. And thank you for caring. It was really awesome of you guys to even care. But yes. Somebody in the comments said, "Where's the Jeep?" And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Okay. So look, I know Dark to Light came out about an hour and a half ago, and I spent the beginning of the show talking about this Jeep. And I said, I don't want to downplay this hurricane at all. And what it did to the Bahamas is just absolutely heartbreaking. Oh gosh, I can't even think about it. So we got it up here. I love you guys too. We got it up here and it was bad. Like there were tornadoes and it was scary. And we lucked out. We really, really, really lucked out up here. And I know it's wreaking havoc right now in Virginia and elsewhere. Hi guys. Hey Sharon. Hey sweet Southern somebody. Hi. Hi guys. So I wanted to talk to you guys, if it's okay with you, for a minute and just show you some of the Jeep because you couldn't see it on the podcast. And before we get into government documents and bleh, let's just chuckle a little bit because this Jeep it blows my mind. Okay, so there was this Jeep that somebody thought that would be a good idea to drive into the beach. Damn it. Somebody thought that this, where did it go? Where did it go? Did you see what just happened there? Hold on. Okay. There was a video that I was just watching. Did you see what happened? Okay, this is it. They drove their Jeep onto the beach here in the middle of the storm and left it there when they got stuck. So all day yesterday was a news team in front of this Jeep talking about it all day. The reporters were I mean, you run out of things to talk about after a while. So, you'd be like, you'd hear, arguably this is the stupidest thing that this person ever could have done. And it became like a staple. It was on all day. So you look at the waves. I mean, it was no joke. This is, earlier in the day. So this Jeep sat there all day and it started like becoming a meme on the internet. And people started coming down to see it. And then the police would like give them tickets and there were kids. And it was just like a tourist attraction. And it was really funny because when the storm was almost over, this gentleman came down to play the bagpipes around the Jeep. I'm sorry. I just find this so funny. So we had the bagpipes. It goes on for the entire time. And then we also had this. Hold on. Hold on. I want to find the police. Just stand by. Look, there's stories. They flock to see the Jeep. It is now a meme. The Myrtle Beach Jeep is a meme. I think I commented on this. It was in here and they changed it. Bear with me. It's worth it. I promise you. Just hang in there, okay? Hang in there. Here, this was it. This made me laugh so hard. The Myrtle Beach police just merely tweeted, "The Jeep is off the beach," with this video. if I'm just a complete cornball or what, but this has made me hysterical over the past 2 days. So there were kids that did their own interpretation of the Jeep. They had like their little toy car that they put in the sand, in the water. Oh, look, it's a time lapse of the Jeep. Here. It just, seriously, it went crazy, okay? It really was something. Look at all the people around here. The water comes up. There's the camera crew. This Jeep there were plenty of people there just all watching this thing in the middle of the hurricane to see what would happen. And that's that. So if you heard the podcast today, they tied a buoy to it. Here's a little visual representation of the famous or infamous, depending on what you want to say, Myrtle Beach Jeep people. And look, you could see what's happening to the drainage pipe. Look, I mean, the drainage pipe blew away. Pretty crazy. That's it. That's all I'll do for the Jeep today. But I just found it so funny. So funny. There was a story up here because, like, I first thought, like, what, is there a dead body in the Jeep? Like, what's going on with the Jeep here? Wait, the Jeep is off Myrtle Beach. Here, the story behind. Oh, I can't replay the video. Oh, goodness. Let me just see what happened. It was somebody that I think the cousin borrowed the Jeep and drove it out there. I would not want to be that person. I really wouldn't. But anyway, I digress. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for a minute and laughing about the Jeep. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of why we're actually here today, which would be a few different things. I wanted to talk to you guys about this lawsuit that was filed against Fusion GPS and Campaign for Accountability by Devin Nunes the other day. Because it's something. It's for when he first decided that he was going to sue that woman, and that lawsuit was supposed to come out, and I kept saying to everybody, I can't find you guys are still talking about the Jeep. I can't find the lawsuit in Pacer. Like, he had originally come out and said he was filing a lawsuit for harassment and the Devin Nunes cow thing and all of that, and it was never uploaded to Pacer. So it was never technically filed, and now I understand why. It seems like there was much, much, much more to this. Hey, Sepson, thanks so much. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, guys. So this complaint seeks damages for 9.9, is that billion? I don't even know. I can't read that number right now. But he's basically seeking a whole lot of money in this racketeering lawsuit. Against Fusion GPS and RICO, yeah. So they go through and basically the lawsuit documents all of Spygate, what they did wrong, how they were involved in racketeering, how they were involved in money laundering and all of that, and why the jurisdiction in Virginia is correct because they're suing in Virginia, not DC. So they keep going here and they talk about what Devin Nunes' history was and all of that stuff. And then they go in to what happened and how Fusion GPS literally targeted Devin Nunes after he began to expose what was going on. And somebody just asked me, doesn't it have to be filed if there is a case number? And yes, this lawsuit here, the one I'm reading from, is filed. This lawsuit is filed. The one that he had originally talked about months and months and months ago, I can't find anywhere. Against Liz Mayer, I can't find. It was never filed. So what I read in here, I learned a couple things that were new outside of what we already know. He goes through in the complaint some details of the other folks that work at Fusion GPS and what they were involved in and the money that came in from other Democrat or leftist progressive entities, including one that is tied to George Soros. But the biggest thing that he's talking about here is, outside of what we all already know about Spygate, which is basic in here, and Perkins Coie, he says what they did. They basically worked in tandem after he began exposing this in his official capacity as the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. They went after him with ethics complaints. And if you remember, he actually had to step aside for a little bit as they investigated some ethics complaint against him. And one of the things that these people did makes me absolutely sick. And he says in here that they filed FOIA requests with the school board where his wife worked. I'm going to raise the microphone a little bit because some people are saying they can't hear me. They got her email and then they began targeting the school. It's just absolutely disgusting. It really is. In April 2016, they go through the fraudulent Steele dossier. They link to a lot of left-wing media sources that reported about it, which I think is really awesome. They also link to the Federalist, the Daily News, the Daily Caller, and The Hill. And this entire lawsuit is a timeline of the Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, Bruce Orr-ish part of Spygate. And where they get into the targeting is down at the end. Here we go. He talks about the FISA warrant against Carter Page. He talks about, like, again, the perjury. He talks about how he leaked the Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele leaked the dossier. Also, there was something in here that I didn't know. It's this. And I'm going to do a show of hands because I want to see what folks have to say about this. I didn't know this. Maybe it's my fault. I didn't know that BuzzFeed got the dossier that they published from Kramer. Did anyone know that? Did anyone know that? I'm just going to wait a second. Somebody's asking me if I think that he's filing a civil suit because he feels like Barr isn't going to come through. Absolutely not. He's filing the suit for damages to himself. And if the suit moves forward in discovery, we'll learn a lot too. But no, I don't think that that's why. It's a civil suit. It's different. He talks about the dossier in the beginning. I had no idea that it was Kramer, but I learned that in this lawsuit. Hey, you learn something new every day. He talks about the collusion, about reporting on the salacious details after Comey, got it from Clapper or whatever. The whole thing about the FISA warrant. But at the end, he talks about he also talks real quick about the Fusion GPS bank records, the case that I talked about. The case that I talked about where the committee subpoenaed the bank records from Fusion GPS and Fusion GPS fought against it. And there's a line in the transcript of that hearing where they say that they're looking for intelligence community payments to Fusion GPS as well. So this lawsuit is on Pacer, but it's also on Recap. So you can go to Recap and find it and look at it there. They talk about Fritch, they talk about Catan, and they talk about how Glenn Simpson perjured himself. And then we get into ethics. Here we go. On January 25th, 2018, as news of Simpson's perjury was being widely reported, CFA, which is the organization, the progressive organization, acting in concert with Fusion GPS, faxed an ethics complaint against Nunes to the Office of Congressional Ethics. It was to threaten and intimidate him, impede his communications with conservative members of the press, chill reporting of Fusion GPS and Simpson's wrongdoing, interfere with his congressional investigation, and dissuade the plaintiff from making criminal referrals to the DOJ. Then a second ethics complaint came in. This time, Nunes was falsely accused of having leaked to the press the text messages between Mark Warner and Adam Waldman that we got, in which Warner tried to arrange a meeting with Christopher Steele. Then a third ethics complaint stating that Nunes violated federal law and House ethic rules by failing to include information on his personal financial disclosure forms and accepting an impermissible gift. And then CFA posted on their website about it. And one of the people that they brought on board was Michael Sealy, who was Southern California American for Democrats Action member, which is a left-wing organization committed to liberal policies, etc., so on and so forth. And Fusion GPS, as per Nunes, directed Sealy to make a request under the California Public Records Act for emails received by his wife, an elementary school teacher, which ended up costing the school district there thousands of dollars in unnecessary costs and expense. And Sealy published Elizabeth Nunes' emails online and included the names and email addresses of numerous school administrators and teachers, which resulted, of course, the way the left always does, in extensive harassment of innocent people, including hateful accusations that they teach bigotry and racism. They had to actually beef up security at the school because of these people. So then they brought in Liz Mayer, who has been... she is like one of those Bill Kristol Republicans. She's supposed to be on the right side of the right side of the fence, but she doesn't act that way. She acts as basically an operative, and she's on Twitter. She ran the Swamp Accountability Project, which was not a swamp accountability project. It was the opposite. It was a well-organized attack against Devin Nunes, and that's where you saw all of these Twitter accounts popping up and getting all these followers. I can't believe the harassment they've allowed to stay on their platform against Nunes when you guys and I get suspended for like tweeting out it's gross. So he goes on here and he talks about the Federalist reporting that there was coordination between CFA and Sealy in trying to get the emails, and It's a really great, it goes into the Mueller report. It's a really great lawsuit. I'm really excited to see what happens with it. This is it right here. We'll look at the docket while we look. And here it is. So it's Ellis that has it, which is a good sign, because Ellis is good. So just keep an eye on this lawsuit. It's actually really awesome. I'm glad he's doing it. He said the other day that the only way that we're going to be able to hold these social media companies accountable is via the court system. And as you know, they're announcing, several attorney generals across the country are announcing that they are launching investigations into antitrust investigations into Google. So there's another story that I'm going to be working on for Uncover DC with someone else that was brought to my attention this morning. Hat tip to you. You know who you are if you're listening. And we're going to get into kind of the AI engine behind the censorship and stuff and exposing that. And I hope that you guys will help me to share that story. So there's that. I mean, I could go into more detail about the lawsuit, but it's really a lot of things that we all know that are, basically fact. If I say that word again, I swear I'm going to bite my own tongue off. I can't take it. My mom did this to me. So next, we'll put this aside for now. We'll keep an eye on it, make sure it's good, make sure it goes along well, and whatever happens with it. Hopefully it progresses. Then we got Brennan's orange jumpsuit today, who is on a Twitter break, but tweeted out some new FOIA releases in the reading room here. And I read through the both of them because I thought that you guys would find them interesting. Records of communications concerning Hillary Clinton, January 13th, 2017 to October 24th. And records concerning the 25th Amendment, which I talked about in the podcast for a little bit, September 20th, 2018 to September 21st, 2018. This 25th Amendment one is in regards to Rod Rosenstein and his communications with others in the Department of Justice about how to respond to the news reporting that he was talking about wearing a wire, and he was talking about the 25th Amendment in regards to President Trump. So this is those. It's 14 pages. And there's only one thing in here that really sparked my fancy, as is often. Rod Rosenstein said something interesting. Harvey Eisenberg writes to him. Harvey Eisenberg is a USAMD, and he writes to him and says, hey, she just called to inquire about the story the Times apparently just placed online that you allegedly were going to invoke the 25th Amendment and wear a wire at the time of Jim Comey's firing. Obviously, I had no comment. Just wanted to give you a heads up that she's calling around. All my best, always, Harvey. And Rod Rosenstein responds, and this is redacted. He responds, thanks. Hopefully, we are being successful, and the reporters are having difficulty finding anybody to comment about things. Now, I wish I could block this person. I can. There we go. That was better. What does that mean? It could mean anything. We don't have the B5. We don't have this on a redaction available for us. So we don't know what he said there. But we talked about it today, and I'm like, what are the purposes for him saying that? What is he doing that he's successful at? Is he telling people, is he threatening people not to speak? Is he, I don't know. This warrants more attention, in my opinion, right here. This warrants more attention because it's weird. Like, did he just tell everyone, God forbid you go out and speak to anybody in the media, X will happen? Interesting. So there's that. They go back and forth about the news reporting on it. This is Rosenstein's statement about the 25th Amendment being false and their anonymous reporting. Here's all the bullet points that the New York Times, I believe it was the New York Times. The New York Times talked about. And there's that. This next one was something else. This one was pretty interesting. This was 129 pages in regards to Hillary Clinton, the OIG investigation into Hillary Clinton, and some other things. And I just got to tell you again that Chuck Grassley he's everything. He's everything. Reading his letters that are in this release, again, sometimes for the third and fourth and fifth time, I just thank goodness for people like him. This letter was interesting to me. It is on behalf of, it's a response about the emoluments clause. So basically, what happens is Grassley wrote to the DOJ and said, how come there are all these inquiries into the emoluments clause that haven't happened in regards to President Trump, but there are no investigations into the emoluments clause when it pertains to Hillary Clinton and all of the things that she had done wrong? And he goes through it bit by bit. And this is just a summary video, so I'm not going to go through all of the details in it because you guys would fall asleep. But you really should check this out. It's on page 85. Next is something absolutely stunning to me that I did not know. Again, I learned something else again today. It's at the very end of this release. And it is a letter. Here it is. I'm just going to make this bigger. By a now retired congressperson named Lamar Smith from the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. I know it is basically a habit, Rose. I mean, who has said that? Yeah, whoever it is up there. I know it is a habit, and I'm trying to break it, and I'm consciously trying to break it. That's why I keep on catching myself after I say it and correcting it, or attempting to, because it's really bothering me, and I'm getting a complex about it. Thanks a lot, Mom. I say basically too much, and I'm trying to change my vocabulary so that I don't say it so much. And every time I say it now, I stop and I'm like, why did I say it again? Anyway. Okay. This is 15, 20 pages long. It is about how Platte River Network's attorney and Platte River Network stonewalled criminally this committee and didn't produce anything that they were required to produce, going so far as to run from U.S. Marshals issuing subpoenas. Here it is. This was written to Jeff Sessions, who did nothing, which really pisses me off. I don't want to start using fundamentally. I don't want to do that. I don't want to replace it. I don't want to use literally. I don't want to use any word in the English language too many times in a sentence or conversation. I want to do my best to stay diverse in my language. Diverse. If you're listening to this back later, I've got a live chat going on, and they're awesome people that are just ribbing me about this. Okay. So this goes on, and it talks 95 through 115, 116, maybe even more. It talks about this investigation that started in January of 2016, way before the mid-year exam was over, way before Donald Trump was president. And the reason why this committee was allowed to investigate this is because they are in charge of oversight of cybersecurity. And so it was of crucial importance to them who accessed the server. So in here, even though the exhibits were not included with this FOIA release, they go through. I'm going to get the hiccups in the middle of a live stream. They go through and they talk about how Platte River Networks stonewalled them to the point where they wrote this letter asking for a criminal referral, or sending a criminal referral to the Attorney General, who did nothing. Really annoying, because this is blatant. And it goes through here how Datto, which was the data store, like the backup provider, was telling Platte River Networks about the insecurity and the possibility that they could be breached because the level of security that was available on their drives was not the same as what would have been needed in this situation. And Paul Gambetta, ignored the warnings. So the first couple pages go through why it is that they have jurisdiction to look into this in the first place. They had subpoenas. They had legal subpoenas. They had every powerful thing that they had in their committee was ignored by Platte River Networks. And the only reason why, one of the reasons why they were able to prove that Platte River Networks was ignoring, or so they'd ask for a certain subset of documents, and Platte River Networks would read that as one thing, when in actuality it was meant to be something else. And they would reply they had no responsive records to the committee. And then Datto would provide records to the committee that proved that to be false. So Datto is a backup company supplying this committee with the information they're looking for, while this committee is asking Platte River Networks for that same information. Platte River Networks is the company that Paul Gambetta worked for, that was in charge of Hillary Clinton's personal email server. They're saying, I don't have any of that stuff. Meanwhile, they're getting what they were asking for that Platte was saying they didn't have from Datto. So, outside of, as someone in the comments is saying, Miss J is saying, they sent every copy of every email to another Google account. Yes, indeed. There were also severe technical breaches that they learned about from Datto. So here, they went to Platte River Networks, Datto, and SendCap, all companies that played a role in securing data stored on Clinton's private server, requested their assistance in understanding the work each company performed to secure the server and whether it was performed in accordance with NIST's framework, which means you need to do certain things a certain way. As part of a letter that the committee sent out, they asked Platte River Network CEO for all documents and communications related to the cybersecurity measures taken to secure Clinton's private email server. They responded through their counsel, stating the company didn't have any responsive documents in its possession at all. Then Ron Johnson wrote to PRN CEO reiterating the letter and asking for transcribed interviews of 7 Platte River Network's employees and put them on notice that there would be compulsory process used if they were to ignore what they were being asked for. Following that, they tried to reach out through telephone calls, voicemails, and emails, and they were absconded and yelled at to stop calling and only reach out through email. Like, the brazenness in this just makes me sick. And this is a really well done, well written, long ass letter requesting criminal charges be placed on these people that Jeff Sessions ignored. I don't know why in the hell Jeff Sessions would have ignored this. This is blatant. If anybody can answer me, let me know. Let me know. So they never produced the documents. They never cooperated with their investigation. They refused electronic service of subpoenas. They had to bring the U.S. Marshals out to serve a subpoena on the CEO to compel documents. They responded in writing to a letter. They purposefully misinterpreted what was being asked for in order to absolve themselves of the problems. And then, it goes on and on and on in here. And they kept trying to serve subpoenas, and they had to literally call out the U.S. Marshals to be able to do it because they refused electronic service just to make it hard. It says, despite the committee's second subpoena, which was way more narrowly tailored, Mr. Suazo, through counsel, refused to work in good faith with the committee to comply with the subpoena. After PRN's CEO received the second subpoena, through counsel, he sent a letter stating that all PRN employees will be ceasing voluntary cooperation with your committee pursuant to their rights under the 4th and 5th Amendments. It made little sense given that they had never cooperated in the first place. It goes on and on and on. Really, it does. I read the entire thing. They go through what authority they have to compel the things. They're accusing the CEO of obstruction. The FBI, they put in here how the FBI actually affirmed how important their role was in everything on July 5th, 2016. So this goes on and on for a while up until April of 2017 when they file this letter asking for these criminal charges. And they say that they definitively show that Platte River Networks purposely withheld subpoenaed materials and misled the committee. And what did we get? What did we get out of this? I don't want to read the whole thing to you guys. I'm scrolling through it quickly for you here. I'll read the conclusion real quick. There's no legal basis for Suazo's refusal to cooperate and comply fully with the committee subpoenas. Instead of cooperation, the committee was met with obstruction and refusal to comply with subpoenas and requests for transcribed interviews. These actions taken together, as well as Mr. Suazo's false statements to the committee made through counsel, support the pattern of obstruction. If left unaddressed, Mr. Suazo's conduct in ignoring lawful congressional subpoenas, misleading the committee through false statements, and bald refusal to respond to reasonable requests could gravely impair Congress's ability to exercise its core constitutional authorities of oversight and legislation. The department should bring the matter before a grand jury for its action or file an information charging him with violating 2 U.S.C. 192, 18 U.S.C. 101 and 1001, and 18 U.S.C. 1505. Did they convene a grand jury? Technically, they're done in secret. Who knows? But what way to go on copying Ryan? Like, that's going to make any bit of a difference. And it's all about the accountability at the end of the day. Like, if these people are just allowed to just completely ignore this stuff, then what? Then what? And then there's this random letter in here from Mogus Industries about how we can't not do something about what's going on with the dual tier justice system. I don't know why this is thrown. I guess because it has to do with Clinton. This guy wrote this private letter, and now he's out here in this FOIA. Another interesting thing that was in here was on page 92. This is a weird email. This email was written to Jeff Sessions' chief of staff, Mary Blanche Henke. And it came from this author. Here she is. I just thought it was weird that this was in here. And it's an email from someone, we don't know who, to her, and then she forwarded it to Sessions, chief of staff. As I listen to this exchange, I can't help but think of Clinton's knowledge and intent. They have to think about their prior relationships with Sandy Berger for removing classified documents from the National Archives. Obviously intent when you set up your own servers and don't tell the president or the National Archives. The documents were 5 classified copies of a single report covering internal assessments of the Clinton administration. An associate of Berger said he took 1 copy and 4 copies after, allegedly by stuffing them in his socks and pants. Do you guys remember this? In April 2005, Berger pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of unauthorized removal and retention of classified materials. How can 2 Yale Law School graduates, one a former president, not know the intent attached to this conduct? How can a couple who prides themselves as partners not both know about the servers? How can these not be predicate crimes for a RICO investigation? I'm sure co-conspirators would cooperate in a RICO investigation. Interesting letter to be sent. There's a little bit of correspondence in this FOIA drop about the Office of Inspector General investigation into the Clinton email thing and who they're going to be working with and how they're going to provide records. And that stuff has not been public before, and that's in here as well. It goes into how because an email from Kadzik, who was the Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. Hold on, I just had a puzzle piece click in for me. Hold on a second. Hold on. I just had a puzzle piece click in for me. I just got to pull something up. Bear with me, guys. It's the McCabe OIG report. Bear with me. Sorry. Please excuse the silence. Okay. Real-time researching. I believe this is the same person that is referenced inside of this report. Five. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Okay. As detailed below, we found that in late October 2016, McCabe authorized special counsel to discuss with Barrett issues related to the FBI's Clinton Foundation investigation. In particular, McCabe authorized special counsel to disclose to Barrett the contents of a telephone call that had occurred on August 12th, 2016 between McCabe and the then Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. Among the purposes of the disclosure was to rebut a narrative that had been developing following a story that questions McCabe's impartiality in overseeing investigations into the Clinton Foundation. The PADAG told him, as per him, that he should be letting it go. McCabe told the OIG that on August 12th, he received a telephone call from PADAG regarding the FBI's handling of the Clinton Foundation investigation. McCabe said that the PADAG expressed concerns about FBI agents taking overt steps in the Clinton Foundation investigation during the presidential campaign. According to McCabe, he pushed back asking, "Are you telling me that I need to shut down a validly predicated investigation?" McCabe told us the conversation was very dramatic, and he never had a similar confrontation like that with a high-level department official in his entire career. This memo comes from Scott Schools, who is the Associate Deputy Attorney General at the Department of Justice, to the Assistant Inspector General in Oversight. We thought it would be useful to provide additional information which we are aware of concerning requests 1 and 2. On or about November 2nd, WikiLeaks released an email from Mr. Kadzik's personal email address to John Podesta. Subsequent to that release, I had conversations with then Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Matthew Axelrod concerning whether he should be recused from further participation. He did recuse himself. Sorry, guys. Just remember this, because there's something here. Remember this. Jot down the name Kadzik. Jot down the name Axelrod, Matthew Axelrod. And jot down the name O'Brien. I have to look into this more. I'm not going to make you guys sit here. I want to look into this more because I believe that there's a connection here. I believe that there's a connection. But anyway, that's in here too, which I thought was interesting. Sorry, my light bulb went off over my head and I just had to look at that right then. The other thing that I wanted to show you outside of that, which there's not much more in that one that I could see in my read, but I want to show you a new entry in Michael Flynn's case. Actually, I have it saved. Save those names. You'll hear them again. I promise you that. Here we go. Okay. This is the docket in the Flynn case. And there was a new entry yesterday, which showed up today at the bottom. Can you guys see that? Is it too small still? Is that better? Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, here we are. There was a status conference, and the docket says this. Hearing ex parte for proceedings before Judge Sullivan were held on 9/5 as to Michael Flynn. The court held an ex parte and sealed hearing with Mr. Flynn and defense counsel. Notice who is not there. It doesn't say that the government was there in their capacity to consider Mr. Flynn's request for the court's intervention on counsel's request for security clearances. See joint status report that we read the other day that I went through for you guys on the podcast. The government continues to deny Mr. Flynn's request for security clearances. Mr. Flynn's attempts to resolve that issue with the government have come to a dead end, thus requiring the intervention of this court. To determine the need for a security clearance, the court may conduct an ex parte hearing. The court advised counsel that it intends to resolve the motion to compel production of Brady material before addressing any court intervention regarding security clearances for Mr. Flynn's counsel. What does this mean? It means that until he figures out what the government is doing with its material, that it's either holding from the defense or pretending doesn't exist, he's not going to move forward with compelling the government to provide security clearances for that evidence. Now, while that may seem like nothing, and it could be nothing because I'm not an attorney, my brain immediately said, maybe he's waiting. Okay, so two things. He could be waiting to see whether or not they will need the clearances if he believes that the government really hasn't provided the Brady material that they say that Sidney Powell says they have. Does that make sense? In other words, the judge might be waiting to compel the government to provide security clearances because the judge may end up buying at the next conference the government's line that they're providing everything that they have. Or we may not get past that hearing. I just am of the firm belief, from looking at everything, that the government would rather, or the Mueller portion of the government, would rather roll over and die than provide anything that Powell is looking for, because it would blow their entire case completely out of the water. So they had a private conference yesterday with Flynn and the attorneys for Flynn. That's it. Nobody else was in the court. Talking about all of this, how they want security clearance, how they want the Brady material. And the judge said, let's wait till the 10th when we have the status conference to talk about your motion to compel. And then we'll decide what we do with security clearances. I'm telling you now, I just have this feeling that this case is going to go bye-bye and everything's going to get dropped. If this continues on, I will be shocked. And I don't know if that's probably a great thing obviously it's a great thing for Michael Flynn. And he still has legal bills, guys. So just take that into consideration. But I think they're going to dismiss these charges because I think that the government, rather than even provide, either the judge will do it or the government will do it themselves and withdraw. Because rather than provide these documents that Sidney Powell is looking for, you understand if those things come out, what's going to happen. It's the whole story. So that's that. I think that's all I had here. I think I might upload the podcast I did on my own on Monday about Flynn to the YouTube channel for people. And keep an eye on this case. I really am trying to see if I can get down to DC for this, but I don't think that I can. Yeah, I'm coming home that day. So I don't think I can get there. So there's that. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of people down there covering this. And yeah. So I also have another project I'm working on before I go that I've gotten a lot of people who've emailed me to crowdsource. And that it's fantastic. It's going to be a massive timeline using all of the reports that we've gotten so far. And it's a huge undertaking, but I've been working on it really hard in the background. And some really good people have stepped up to help me. And, that'll all come out as time goes on. If you guys appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron, I would be honored to have you. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/TracyBeans with a Z, or Subscribestar at subscribestar.com/TracyBeans. If you want to support Uncover DC, which is my growing media outlet, you guys can do so on the website. There is a support button if you guys wish to support Uncover DC. And I will probably be back tomorrow because I have another story that I'm working on. So I will see you guys then, and thanks for listening. And thank you for enjoying the Jeep with me. The Jeep forever. I'll talk to you guys soon.